Hello, welcome to On My Head, son. I hope you're all well. So what a Saturday of sport it was in the English Premier League. Yeah, West Ham went to Arsenal with high hopes of being strong and resolute and going to take it to Arsenal. And it didn't turn out to be that way at all. Man United found their shooting boots against Sunderland. Liverpool faltered once again, 3 times in a row now against Chelsea. And Spurs, well, they beat Leeds away, and we won't talk about that. But let's just talk about West Ham, really. First of all, before I do that, look what came in the post. Look at this. Look at that. There we go. There we go. I shall be flying this proudly at the next games I go to. I won't be going to the Brentford game because I just won't be. Part of this boycott. I am doing that. I'm not going to it. But part of me really wants to go just so I can fly that. It came in the post. A guy called Jamie Howe. I did have his contact details with me. I don't know what the hell I've done with them right now, so I'm searching my pockets. But anyway, Jamie Howe at gmail.com. Email him. You'll be able to get one yourself. Anyway, listen, about the game. I'm still hopping mad. This is the day after here. I'm still hopping mad about it because I don't expect us to go to Arsenal and outplay them or anything like that. And I don't expect Nuno Espirito Santo to immediately turn us around into a world-beating team, right? So let's just have a bit of reality check here. So I'm not one of those fans. But what I am saying, and what I did say before, I'd be really upset, really mad, if we don't come out of defence and go and play an attacking, counter-attacking style, which Nuno is set up for, and at least trouble them, at least get in their faces. Now, I'm just looking at the stats here. I'm not a stats guy, by the way, but in terms of football, just look at the stats, right? They're 68% to our 31%, or, whatever. They're 69% to our 31%. The touches in the opposition box, they had 47 to our 7, right? And basically they had, 21 shots to our 4, 5 were on target, 0 for us, right? So overall, defensively, if we're talking about the back line, or certainly the central defensive pairing, I thought we did okay. It wasn't brilliant, but we did okay. There were a lot of times. We were lucky because they kept on coming at us, and they missed quite a few chances, right? But Areola made a couple of saves. We cleared the lines a couple of times. We defended resolutely in patches, right? My problem was, defensively speaking, is that our midfield wasn't protecting our defence enough. So let's just take the Juve penalty, which he had a poor game defensively, right? He was turned inside out, but he was caught in no man's land because he was trying to go cover the lad, I think it was Saka, who was on the wing. And that Timber had come in, I think it was Timber, who come in on his blind side, and that's the ball was played into him, and he was turned inside out, and that's what he got caught out. The problem was that he was caught in no man's land because Somerville wasn't on that player. He wasn't on that player on the wing, Saka. He wasn't getting close to him. So that's why there was just too much space. And I saw this repeatedly, time and time again, in front of our back lines. I just didn't think Magassa had a good game. I don't think Fernandes had a good game, and I don't think Paqueta had a good game either. In fact, there was nothing really there in front of our defence to tell me, you know what, we're holding them off, right? We were doing the best we could on the back four, but it just wasn't good enough in the midfield from a defensive point of view to stop them coming at us. And that's what it was. It was just time and time again. They were just probing. They were just breaking through our lines, breaking through our midfield, breaking through our defences. And we had, maybe 1 or 2 opportunities in the game to get forward. And on another day, we might have got a better header on it and we might have scored a goal. Okay, that's all ifs, buts, coulda, woulda, shoulda. But the reality is we never even threatened them, really. My biggest issue here is that we would hold in our own to a certain degree, right? defensively, but we just weren't good enough in front of defence, and we just weren't good enough in front of defence to protect those second balls. So when Rice scored, there was nobody closing down. When Eze had his shot, there was nobody really closing him down, right? So they're defending the back line, but also on that second ball, when we've made the initial save, Areola, and when we've made the initial clearance, let's say, there was nobody really getting stuck in there, pressing and attacking the ball to stop them having their chances. I hark back to when Nuno made his first press conference. He was saying, got to get the players to make sure that every ball is competed, every ball is competitive, every ball is important. Okay, I'm paraphrasing here. And what I saw in this game, that it wasn't happening. Now, from that point, then let's talk about counter-attacking and going forward. There was nothing. There was no quality there. There was no vision. There was no holding up the ball. There was no relief of the defence. So basically, as soon as we tried to go forward, we lost possession and they came back at us. And this happened time and time again in the game. You can go and watch the whole game again and you'll have the same impression. It was just Arsenal coming at us all the time. Now, okay, let me just step back a little bit from my how pissed off I am at this. They're a very good side. They're probably one of the best sides in the league right now, of course, right? We can all agree that. And they got great players. They got great strength in depth and all that kind of stuff, right? A lot has been said about Rice, how he didn't celebrate and how he looked towards the West Ham fans, after he scored. Look, what can I say? I mean, I hated that he went there anyway. I hated that the fact that all of a sudden he started to change his allegiance. But this is football, it's professional football. What are you going to do, right? But he didn't overly celebrate, so I'm fine with that from that point of view. But so they've got great players. They've got great players, good strength in depth as well. They've definitely improved. They're probably the team that has most improved on last season. So this is why they're doing so well in the league, right? But we didn't challenge that at all. We didn't challenge that going forward. We didn't put them under any pressure. We didn't close them down. We didn't close down the space in midfield and going forward on the counter attack. So we had nothing really, nothing to trouble them whatsoever. So if Nuno Espirito Santo is the manager that is going to sit deep, going to give away possession, we're only at 30% possession, that's what we're going to be playing. One thing we've got to do is be a lot better in midfield and a lot better in clearing our lines to make sure that we retain possession, to get the ball out quickly and to counter-attack with purpose and with quality. So I saw nothing of that yesterday. So I hark back to what I was saying before. And I always said this, and if you watch my videos from before, I have not been the kind of fan who's saying, "No, yeah, Nuno's going to solve all our problems." I've been saying I've liked what I've seen so far. I've liked what he said, but what I've consistently said that I just don't believe we have the players to make what he wants to play or what he is to be successful. I just don't think that we have the players right now to make it a success. I think we're going to scrape away and maybe just get some results here and there. And we've got to wait until January so that maybe we can get a couple more players in just to reinforce. He's come in and he's seen, I'm convinced of this, he's seen that we've got so many players that are subpar, so many players that are just not good enough. And he keeps on talking about, we've got to learn together as a group, as a squad, where we are. And that's why he's putting in Potts, putting in Callum Marshall. Great. They got time on the pitch yesterday. But Fulkrug was just not, there's nothing there. But they had nothing to him either. Paqueta was nothing, had a nothing game. Fernandes had a nothing game. Magassa was poor, I thought, all over. Yes, we could slate Juve defensively, but he wasn't going forward. Somerville had a little couple of opportunities, let's say. But again, it was a poor game offensively going forward from all the team. So it was backs to the wall the whole time. So we can pick the bones at how crap we are at defence. And I will say this, we need central defence sorted out. We need to be much better defensively. But we also need to be much better going forward. And we need players that are in the middle of the park that are not only resolute defence that can protect our defence, but also know what they're doing in terms of going forward. Nuno, I'm sure, has seen this. And it's obvious that what he's saying post-match, in his post-match interviews, he's basically saying, look, we've got a lot to work on. Yeah, no shit, Sherlock. We've got a lot to work on. It's almost like we're having to go right back to basics here. And I think he might have even mentioned this as well, going right back to basics in terms of defending, in terms of going forward. And I think he even mentioned it himself post-match as well, saying that, you know, there were some good points, but there was also a lot of bad points again. But it's also about that possession and going forward as well. You know, we need to be a lot better there. Yeah, absolutely right. Because in many ways, that's what let us down. You can't let a team, the quality of Arsenal especially, to keep on coming at us with no reply. It's a fool's errand. It's never going to work. Now, the problem is, if we're always going to play like that, then we're always going to have this feeling. We're always going to have this with, a coach like Nuno. It's always going to be there. We're always going to have that feeling that teams are just coming onto us all the time, and we're not going to have the quality to go forward. And I stand by it. I stand by the fact that this is not a Nuno problem right now. And I just want to make that clear. And I don't think he's saying the wrong things. I think what he's saying is absolutely correct. In that we've got to improve in so many different areas, and this is not good and that's not good. There were some slight improvements in terms of our shape and our compactness and, you know, our organisation at times, yeah, but there's lots of problems there still, right? But there's a problem, and we know that. And the problem is that he's come in right now to a squad of players that are just not good enough. The squad isn't good enough to compete. Certainly at that level. We're just not good enough to compete at that level. The question is, are we good enough, or can he make us good enough to compete with the teams in and around us? We've got 6 games next that you could say, in old money, as it were, you could say, we should be getting some points. We should be getting some wins here. We should be competitive. At the very least, we should be competitive there. We should be at that level. So the next 5 games, I think, are going to be really telling for us as a club. And I think that's really going to tell us as a fan base whether under Nuno and whether this group of players are really up for the fight. Because there might have been slight improvements. Certainly in the Everton game, it gave me hope. This game, I think, is really hard to judge because Arsenal is so good. But I think we just made it too easy for them. It's like you're in the ring with a boxer, right? And he's just pinging away at you, and you just haven't got your hands up. You haven't got your hands up. You're not protecting yourself. You're not covering up, and he's just launching on you. And you think, well, that's it. The ref has got to step in at some point, and that's it, and call time. Because if you're not defending yourself, you're just gonna get hit and you're just gonna get knocked out. And that's exactly how I felt yesterday. Yeah, I'm giving you a boxing analogy, but essentially it's the same thing, right? If you're just letting teams come on you, if you're just letting the opposition come on you all the time, and all you can do is barely defend, or sometimes you're not even defending properly at all, you're never gonna win. You're never gonna win. And if you're not going forward with any purpose and threatening the opposition goal and having shots, then you're never going to score. You're never going to score, so you're never going to win. It's that simple. Now, this is where I do have a bit of an issue with Nuno yesterday, in particular. In that, and this is for any coach who plays this kind of football, right? When you go 1-0 down, and when you can see you're under the cosh, when you go 1-0 down especially, that's it. At that point, you've got to say, we can't just keep it compact here because we're losing. We can't just say, oh, well, let's just see how we go. Because if you're not counter-attacking at all, if you're not going forward at all, then you're never going to score. So you're destined to lose the game. You're never going to get back into it. So at that point, if you lose 1-0, 2-0 or 3-0, okay, then you could argue, okay, well, let's just not make this a cricket score. Let's just get really compact. But at 1-0, you should be instructing the players, you've got to go forward, you've got to get out there, you've got to be quicker, go on the counter attack. And there was nothing there. I'm not saying Nuno didn't want that, but there wasn't a response from the players to do that. We just kept our shape, kept on inviting Arsenal onto us. That's what I was getting from the game. I'm sure it's as frustrating for the players, and I'm sure it's frustrating for the manager as I am frustrated by it. And I want to temper my negativity here by saying that Arsenal are one of the best teams in the league, or probably are one of the best, or are the best team in the league right now. So it's really hard to judge how bad we are against how good they are, right? But I've always say you can counteract another team at how good they are with a great tactical plan and just getting in their faces and cutting down the space and pressing really high and having that ultra high energy just for that one game that will make you ultra competitive and make you really difficult to beat. And I thought at times it was just, we were just sitting there waiting to be hit. Yeah. We were just, we were on the ropes and saying, come on, come and hit us. Yep. Come and make your shots, take your shots, make your passes. There wasn't a lot there. We were just defending too deep. And I don't think it's a defensive line issue in this case. I think it was a midfield failing that failed to protect our defence and failed to get the ball out and retain the ball and going forward. I thought it was a poor display from West Ham all over. That's why I didn't make a video last night, a reaction video. I was kind of really deflated, but I was also really hopping mad as well. I just thought it was just crap, really. I'm not sure what I was expecting, but what I was expecting for us to be able to put on a bit of a show going forward. I didn't expect us to win. I was hopeful, of course, we're always going to win. I was hopeful that at least we could try and eke out a draw. And if we were 1-0 down, and then I could see that we were definitely going for it, we were definitely changing and chasing the game, then I thought, okay, at least if we come with a 1-0 loss, even if it was a 2-0 loss and we were really chasing the game, I would have thought, okay, fine, I would take that. I wouldn't be happy, but I would be content in the fact that say, well, we played a much better team, but at least we went at them. And I just don't think we went at them. After we cleared our lines, after we were getting, we were holding off in terms of defensively, and then getting the ball out into midfield, and we did nothing with it. And Paqueta again, I thought had a really poor game. And just I'm not sure where he's at with this at times. I just thought it was just really poor. Again, are we blaming Bowen and Somerville? Well, if they're not able to get the ball to them, and it's not really fluid. Are we blaming Füllkrug? Well, Füllkrug just had a really poor game, but there was nothing to him either. And some of the touches were poor as well. You could say, okay, right in the first, few minutes when we had the corner from Bowen, and then he had that opportunity with the header. And you could think, well, also Saliba was right on him. So you could say, well, is that a free kick there? Should have that been a penalty? I think you just got to be stronger. You just got to be strong in that moment. All defenders do it, all attackers do it. But what it did show, it showed that our defenders have got to be right close, climbing all over the strikers, not giving them any space. Well, they defended fantastically, and we don't. So that tells you everything, right? They did their job. Do your job. They did their job. And Füllkrug just didn't get a decent head on it, And yeah, look, but it goes to show that you can get into spaces, and you can get in front of the defender, and you can get your head on the ball before they can. So if that happened once, and then Callum Martian did it in the second half, if that happens twice, that means that what you need to do is just get the ball in the box, get those crosses in, get bodies in the box. Try and attack their, left back and right back to force corners. We just weren't doing it enough. We just weren't threatening enough. And this is a midfield issue going forward. So it's not that I blame Füllkrug for being ineffective. I think that all of our midfield and our attacking line was just totally ineffective. And that concerns me. That really concerns me. The game against Brentford next. Obviously, we've got Newcastle, Burnley, and whomever. These are the games, the next few games that are really going to define our season. These are the ones that you're going to say, right, we need to show performance. We need to show something that we're going to get at teams. And we've got to be a lot stronger in defence. We've got to midfield. We've got to be a lot better defensively. But going forward, we've got to be a lot better. Against Everton, I thought we showed it a little bit. If that comes back, if that kind of performance comes back, I think we might just hold our own. We might just eke out a draw. But that's not going to be good enough to save us. We need to be a lot better than we were against Everton. Okay, only a week in, right? I'm not digging Nuno out just yet. And I'm not digging the players out just yet. I just don't believe, and I go back to what I said right at the very start. We're just not good enough. We just don't have the players that are good enough. They have to be improved so much. We're right at the bottom of the mountain here. This is what Nuno's found. This is where the players are. They're right at the bottom of the mountain, and he has to somehow drag them right to the summit. That's what he has to do. He's going to be pulling them by the short and curlies and saying, come on, you bastards, let's get up there. And along the way, I'm going to have to teach you how to climb. I'm going to have to teach you how to play football. This is pretty much where we're at. It's not a good look for us. It's not, we haven't showered ourselves with a lot of positivity yesterday. There was a lot to be negative about, but there's also a big reality check that we're nowhere near the level of any of the top teams in the Premier League. The teams in the top half of the league, we're nowhere near them. And these teams that are coming to us, or we're playing the next 5 or 6 games, they're not having terrible seasons, right? They're having some decent seasons. They're having some decent games. They're putting on some decent performances. They're not always getting the results, but they're putting on some decent performances. So you got to think about that. Look ahead now and say, if we're only keeping 30% possession, and all we're doing is defending, and we're not really great at defending. It's not Italian style from the 1960s and 70s, Catenaccio, 50s, 60s, and 70s, where you're never going to break an Italian defence. You're never going to break an Italian Inter Milan from those times. Oh no, we're not that kind of team, right? We're not that kind of defensive setup. So if we're not that, anywhere near that, and we've got nothing going forward, it just goes to show. Just what Brian Clough used to say all these years ago, if you're old enough just like me, Nottingham Forest. And he used to say, you got to score. You don't win games if you don't score. And that's as simple as that. If we're 1-0 down and we're not chasing the game, even at that point, I know you've got to be patient, but you're going to lose. Now, it's okay to be patient. I want to counteract what I've just said. It's okay to be patient if you're really good at attacking, at taking the game to the opposition, if you're great going forward, if you're great counter-attacking, right? It's only a matter of time until you're going to get your goal. You can be patient and wait until the second half. But if you're not, you have to get at that team. You have to put them under pressure. One, to give them something else to think about. One, to stop them attacking you. And then have the chance of putting their defence under pressure and their keeper under pressure with shots, crosses, headers, whatever it is. And that's the only way you're going to ever get the opportunity to score. And it doesn't matter what the opposition is. So when people say these top teams can't be beat, Arsenal can't be beat, Liverpool can't be beat, Chelsea can't be beat, Barcelona can't be beat, Real Madrid can't be beat, whatever. All I say is absolute bollocks. Because if that were the case, no great team would ever be beaten from any lesser team. And if you go back through history, you go back through every season, every team at some point is beaten by somebody else. Or they drop points by a lesser team, a much lesser team. It happens all the time. So we shouldn't just sit there and accept our lot and say, we're playing against Arsenal. Oh, it's a free hit. Oh, we're not going to get anything. This is a mind virus that it gets into the fan base, it gets into the players, and gets into the manager. Fuck me, I should be a motivational speaker or something. I should be invited by West Ham, by Nuno, to get in there and be a bit like, The old the England manager, it's like, God, fucking get in there. I mean, that's what I feel like doing. That's what I feel like doing. But we know we're in this predicament. We know that we're in this issue because of the mismanagement of the club, the appointment of managers, the recruitment of players, the backroom staff, the recruiting process, the scouting process, the training facilities. Everything that is wrong with this club is being reflected in the way we're playing, in the kind of players that we have at our disposal. And we're repeatedly having to fight fires with managers just to play defensive football. Again, this is not a slight on Nuno, but this is where we're at. So this is why I'm proud I got this. I'm proud I got this. There we go. Look at that. I'll be holding it up, and I don't know, so don't quote me on this, but I think it's less than the size that is not allowed in the stadium. I could be completely wrong, but there we go. Let us know what in the comments. Let us know what the maximum size is of a flag or something like that. Anyway, so if they try and take this off me, good luck with that. Well, that's all I can say. If you like what I do, just keep on watching. And international break now. Nuno's got 2 weeks to work with the players that he's got. We've got 7 or 8 players that are going off international duty. Let's see if any come back with any injuries. How if they're tired, if they're worn out, who the hell knows. But look, Brentford is the next game at home. It's the boycott game. Whether you're going to boycott or not, that's up to you. I'm not here to convince you or force you. I'm just saying that I'm not going. Okay, I'm not going. I wish I was in many ways because I want to support the team. I want to support Nuno. I want to support the players. I want to see us fight back, and I want to hold this up. I want to see change at the club. I want to see there's an improvement at the club behind the scenes. I want to see a more structured, organised club. I want to see a club that's a lot closer with the fan base and that speaks to all the fan base and not just individual fan base. I want to see a club that doesn't speak behind the fans' back and go and try and speak to media, behind the fans' back. I want to see a much closer club. I want to see a well-run club, a well-oiled machine. Whether that translates into success on the pitch or not, but I've always said there's a front of house and back of house, and I want the back of house to be, at least we as fans don't have to worry about that. At least we know this. Okay, fine. We can't complain about that. That's what I would want. We can't complain about that. All we can complain about, all we can praise, or all we can, criticise is what goes on the pitch. We can talk about tactics and formations and player performances and all that stuff. We shouldn't be talking about what goes on behind the scenes and the ownership model. We should just be talking about what goes on. But we can't because it's so bad there, right? This is why I've probably got this wrong way around now. There we go. Look at that. No more BS. Just resign. That's it. Just get out of the club. That's all I can say. Get out of the club. Hand it over to somebody else who's got the best intentions of the club. That's all I would say. But look, this video it's about that, but it's also about where we are. I keep on saying this until I'm blue in the face, and I don't know if you agree, but we just haven't got the players for it. We just haven't got the players right now. It's going to take a lot of work, a lot of training, and I think, reading between the lines of what Nuno has said already, I think he's thinking to himself, he's smiling, he's going, yes. But he's thinking, fucking hell, what have I found here? This is, there we go. Long way ahead, long way to go. Still a big mountain to climb, but we need to do better in all aspects of the game. But, we can be as defensively sound as you like, but if we're not getting the ball out into midfield and doing something with midfield and getting it out into our attackers, and if we haven't got good strikers there, if we haven't got getting crosses in the ball of the ball into the box, if we're not doing any of that, guess what? We're not even gonna get a shot on goal. We're not gonna threaten them at all, and we're not gonna score. So if you're not going to score, you're never going to win a game. It's as simple as that. It's as simple as that. There's 2 sticks and a crossbar. That's it. With a net on it. You need to get the round thing in there. That's it. However you do it, and it doesn't really matter, right, at this stage. It's get that ball in there, or at least bare minimum, get that ball heading towards that way, aiming to get it there. And we're not doing that. We're not doing that. Well, let's face it, we haven't done that effectively for a long, long time. Oh, God. Right. See you in a couple of weeks. Catch you again. Bye now.